So, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I am basically obsessed with the Wolfenstein series and that I love each one of the Machine Games entries. And, you know what? I got Wolfenstein Youngblood. I got it a little early. I'm not gonna say how, just gonna say that I did. And, this is basically just like some first impressions. Things that are striking me about the game so far. Right off the bat, when you get into gameplay, I should say, because there's a nice chunk of cutscene at the beginning of the game, and I know that the cutscene quantity and length in the Wolfenstein series is kind of hit or miss with some people. It's an aspect of the series that I really enjoy ever since Machine Games came in, and it's something that I really like seeing continue. It kind of reminds me of how the Metal Gear Solid series kind of responded to criticisms of, the lengths of cutscenes by just adding more cutscenes with every single game. Metal Gear Solid 5 kind of being the exception, because that one had much shorter scenes. But Metal Gear Solid 5 is kind of the exception in a lot of ways, because it's the most different of all the games. Even though it's very similar to Peace Walker, it's also not. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Wolfenstein Youngblood. And once you get into gameplay, you really can tell that this game was designed for co-op, but it still does feel right as a single-player game. It kind of reminds me of how Killzone 3 handled that. So you definitely have mechanics like being revived, and you have you can also revive your teammates, and so it doesn't really deprive you of the experience of what it would be like to play with another person, but it definitely, you don't get that interpersonal interaction. I really wish that this game had a split-screen multiplayer mode. It says here, one player on the box and then two players over network, and goddamn, it seems like such a waste that you can't play split-screen couch co-op on this thing. Games designed for co-op should have split-screen features. I get the attraction of online co-op, and I've enjoyed online co-op games in the past, like Left 4 Dead, but, man, that split-screen option is great. And it's always my preferred way to play a game, because I like being in the same room as the person that I'm playing with. And I would love to play this game. I would love to play this game in the same room as the person I would play it with. And the person I would play it with is Holly, because she and I really enjoy the stories in this game, in these games, and I was really hopeful to have the ability to both of us play through this. One person as one sister and one person as the other. That would have been awesome. Unfortunately, the game doesn't make that possible, but it still works perfectly fine as a single-player game. The combat, from what I'm seeing, is a bit more balanced than it was in the new Colossus. It feels very similar, but it is a bit more balanced. Dual wielding, as far as I've seen, is not a thing yet, and probably won't be a thing. I remember in some of the DLC for Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, you couldn't dual wield. So I think dual wielding weapons seems more like a BJ Blazkowicz thing. All the different characters that you've been able to play as in the DLC for that have their own special abilities, and then the sisters seem to have their own peps, if I'm understanding right, and it's like a temporary advantage that you can give the other person. You can give them some extra health, or you can give them some extra armor, and I'm not quite sure how it's supposed to work in, how that mechanic's supposed to work into the story, but I kind of don't care, because it's really cool when I'm, kind of on the coals there to get some extra health when I really need it. That said, the AI does seem a little bit hesitant to come and actually pick you up when you're down, which I get it. There's some other games where maybe the AI seems a little bit too eager to come do it, and this one they really want to make sure the coast is clear. There's some co-op puzzles that kind of remind me of things that you would see in Gears of War, like cooperative doors. Yeah, the kind of co-op puzzle that we've all seen. One person opens a door, the other person goes under it and then holds it open from the other side while the other person goes under it. It's all button prompts, and then you have like two levers on each side of an object that both need to be activated at the same time. Very classic stuff. It's the kind of thing that I've been seeing in co-op games ever since really like Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, which again, I loved that I could play that one cooperative with Holly. That was great. I do wish that that this one had. It's so clearly designed for co-op, and yet that split screen function, man. Split screen really is just the best way to play co-op, even if you don't get the whole screen to yourself. It's just like being in the room, that social haptic aspect of it. It's really great. Really, really great. But working on its own as a first-person shooter, as a single-player first-person shooter, I really like the new characters that they've introduced. I really like the game. Kind of has this crazy Goonies feel to it, or like a Super 8 feel, where it's just like the you can really tell that. I mean, they're not kids, they're not children, but you can tell that they recently were. It's just a youthful quality to the characters, and it does feel very much like a madcap high school adventure. Even though the characters are just a little bit older than that, they just their maturity level is very high school, there's already some great moments so far, like the first kill. The cutscene of the first kill is absolutely hilarious, and kind of fucking twisted, and I love it. I'm enjoying this game a lot so far, and I look forward to. I'm gonna do a full review of this. I have to. It's like a tradition on this channel. Let's see, what else? America Man will be continuing his playthrough of Mario 64, of course. That's going to happen. As soon as I can. So yeah, that'll be coming up, and there will be a full review of Wolfenstein Youngblood once I've completed the game. Didn't get Cyberpilot, don't have PlayStation VR. Didn't get it on PC because I don't have VR stuff for my PC. My PC is a toaster. I play PC games on my laptop. So the best looking games that I get to play are on the PS4. And that's why the footage here is recorded from PS4. That's why my copy of Wolfenstein Youngblood is on PS4. The game looks great. It's kind of to be expected. I mean, Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, looked great. There's a lot more information on the HUD, and I kind of feel two ways about that. It definitely makes the combat feel a little bit more fair, and that was a problem that the new Colossus had. You could just get totally crunched, and that fucking courthouse. For so many reasons, that fucking courthouse. Beating it is definitely a great feeling, but at the same time, the way that level works, it's just such a spike in difficulty from the rest of the game that courthouse definitely is not the strongest part of Wolfenstein 2, which is a shame because I really love Wolfenstein 2, but its detractors like to point to that level as an example of the game's imbalanced difficulty, and they're not wrong. That level is really fucking hard. So far, I'm not seeing that kind of problem in Wolfenstein Youngblood. The game does a really good job of easing you into it. It tells you what you need to know, when you need to know it. If there's one thing I'm definitely getting the sense of, it's that the people who made this game played a lot of Metal Gear Solid 2. You get a radar that kind of reminds me of the Solitaire radar a bit. But it's not just that. Other aspects of it really make me have flashbacks to MGS2. Never mind the fact that the whole thing is very 80s, and yes, Metal Gear Solid 2 was very 80s before you ask. I mean, like, Metal Gear Solid 2 was aggressively 80s. The whole, like, so much of the game was a love letter to Escape from New York. And yes, I know that they name drop the game directly, but also the game works like Escape from New York does. It's you go in to rescue the president. You're in this big isolated environment anyway. Sorry, I wanted to talk about Wolfenstein Youngblood, and I'm talking about Metal Gear Solid again, but I can't bloody help it. This game draws direct inspiration from it. And also, that's something I think that this series really needs to be encouraged and celebrated, because I know that the Wolfenstein games are kind of doing something different every single time one comes out. And that really should be encouraged, because the stories in all of them are interesting. They're insane, utterly madcap insane. And I'm kind of, on the one hand, I'm kind of surprised that the Wolfenstein series, ever since Machine Games took over, hasn't developed the kind of fandom that Metal Gear Solid has. But on the other hand, I understand why it hasn't. And the reason that it hasn't is because of the ad campaign for Wolfenstein 2, which I thought was brilliant, but again, it divided people, because it coincided with the 2016 election, and that's just what happened. It's why people rag on The Last Jedi, even though it's really one of the best Star Wars movies ever made. And that's why people rag on Wolfenstein 2, even though that game, while not as good as Wolfenstein The New Order, is fantastic. Is absolutely fantastic, and I love this game too. But the whole reason why this series is not developing, I'm convinced of this, the whole reason why this series is not developing the kind of fervent, devoted fan base that the Metal Gear Solid series has, despite having all of the elements in place, just like this mad creative energy, insane plot twists, twisted sense of humor, and simultaneously taking itself very seriously and not seriously at all. It's just like the whole series so far feels very American Kojima. But yeah, no, the whole reason it hasn't happened is because of the 2016 election and because of the state of American politics as it is. Donald Trump ruins everything. Wolfenstein Youngblood is amazing. I hope you all enjoy it.